Welcome back to the Comp Closet podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Sarah Moore, and today's episode is a little bit different because I am doing a solo episode diving deep into the costs of competing and the ways that you can save thousands of dollars on prep. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm an FMG Pro. I competed in 3 back-to-back shows in 2022, and I'm currently on prep to compete again in the Gold Coast and Dubai Pro shows. So over the years, I've learned so many hacks to reduce the costs associated with competing and really stretch my dollar a bit further. And this has allowed me to compete in back-to-back shows and obviously compete overseas. So I'm based in New Zealand, but like I said, I am traveling over to the Gold Coast and Dubai shows back-to-back. And then we're doing a little holiday in Dubai as well. And that wouldn't be possible with all of these cost-saving hacks. So the cost I mentioned in this episode will be in Australian dollars, AUD, and they are specific to competing in FMG shows. So some of the costs will be applicable to other federations, but just keep in mind that I am specifically referring to competing in FMG. Now, we do have a free cost planner that you can download to calculate the cost of your prep. I honestly wish I had this before my first show. I found it so hard to find anything about all the costs, and I had no idea how much I needed to save for my first show. I ended up having to save for like 2 years, which is insane. So I'll pop the link below for you, and I'll be referring to that throughout the episode as well. So first of all, let's understand all the costs that are involved with competing. I like to break this down into 3 main categories. So you've got your fixed essential costs. These are the set costs that you have to spend in order to compete. So they don't change at all. They're the same show to show. You've got your variable essential costs. So these are costs which can vary, the cost can change, and they are required to compete. So you have to spend money on these in order to compete, but the amounts that you spend can change quite a lot. So you can save some money on these ones. Next, you've got your optional fixed costs. So these are the set costs. They do not change, but you can choose whether or not you spend money on these things or not. You don't have to buy these things in order to compete, but they are kind of a nice to have, and a lot of competitors do buy these things. And finally, you've got your optional variable costs. So these are the things that most competitors will spend money on, but they're not 100% required in order to compete. So this is the main category that you can save a lot of money. Now I'll go into a bit more detail on what each of these categories include and how much you might have to spend. So the first category that I mentioned before is fixed essential costs. So the things that do not change, you have to spend these if you want to compete in FMG. So you've got your show registration for an amateur competitor, that is 499 Australian dollars for one category. You've also got your show hair and makeup. That's $360 if you go with the FMG hair and beauty team, which I do recommend. You can go with someone else, and I'd say it would be a similar cost. Anyways, obviously you would save some money if you do your own hair and makeup, but just keep in mind it has to be next level stage hair and makeup, not just normal everyday glam. And of course, your show day tan. So that is $200. You can add on to your tan as well. You can buy the base tan builder, which I really recommend if you're pale. That's from Fusion Tan, who is the main tanning provider for FMG. All the tans are provided by Fusion Tan. You cannot get your tan from anywhere else. So if you're using any prep products, then I do recommend using the Fusion Tan products as well, because they work really nicely with the tan. Next, you've got your variable essential costs. So like I said before, these are costs that are required to compete, but they can vary by quite a lot. Your bikini is one that can vary a lot. So you can get a pre-loved bikini off the Comp Closet. These are from, honestly, 200 Australian dollars. We have some beautiful bikinis from that price. And then if you're buying a new bikini, you're looking at around $2,500 to $3,000. So anywhere from $200 to $3,000 you could be spending on your bikini, depending on whether you buy pre-loved or new, and of course which designer you go with as well. So just keep that in mind. You can save thousands in this area. Stage heels is another thing that you can save a bit of money on. So the low cost budget guide we've got at $50, because you can buy secondhand or cheaper heels. You can bedazzle them yourself. I'm actually doing that for my show. I purchased all of the gems and everything off AliExpress and the glue, and I'm just going to bedazzle them myself to match my pre-loved bikinis that I've got, because both of my bikinis for my shows are also pre-loved or secondhand. And then high cost, we've got $500 for your stage heels. So that would be like a bespoke pair of bedazzled heels done by one of the bikini designers. Jewelry, so you don't have to spend that much money on jewelry. Like honestly, Lavisa in Australia and New Zealand, I'm not sure if it's anywhere else in the world, but it's so good for stage jewelry. It's super cheap. I just bought like all of my jewelry off there for my shows for $50, which is really good. Sheen also has some really good stage jewelry. Like no one's going to be able to tell whether it's real diamonds or not when you're on stage. So as long as it's sparkly and matches your outfit, you'll be fine. So anywhere from $50 to $500 you could spend on jewelry, but I would recommend kind of the lower range of that. Evening gown, again, this is something, or theme wear, of course, if you're doing fitness or figure, this is something that you can save a lot of money on as well. If you wear something that you've already got in your closet, that will be free. Or, of course, you can buy one secondhand off the comp closet to save a lot of money. But if you're going with more of a designer gown, you could be spending up to $1,500 or $2,000 if you want one made specifically for you, or you're buying a more expensive one. But of course, you can save a lot of money on that. And of course, your registration night dress. So you need to think like a red carpet glam dress for that as well. It doesn't have to be as insane for your evening gown, but just remember that's your first impression that everyone will see is at registration night or media night. So keep that in mind. And again, you can save money if you buy that secondhand. Your comp prep coach, this is another one that can vary a lot. Honestly, I don't know what everyone is spending on coaching. If you already have a coach year round, then you might not want to consider this but I would suggest anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 for a 20-week prep for a comp prep coach for nutrition and training. Standard cost is probably around 150 Australian dollars per week for a comp prep coach. And posing coaching, you absolutely have to get this. So it's a bit cheaper if your comp prep coach does that as well. But if you are getting posing coach, then that cost can vary widely. I'd suggest around $1,000 to $200 for coaching with a posing coach. So you can go online, you can go to one of the many posing schools. Yeah, flick me a message if you need any recommendations for a posing coach. And next you have your optional fixed costs. So these are set costs that most people do pay, but you don't have to spend these in order to compete. So that is your stage photo package and your stage video package. I do highly recommend getting these. You don't have to purchase them before the show. You can purchase them after you compete. I think up to like after a few years after you compete, even on the FMG website. So don't feel pressured into spending that money before you actually compete. But I do highly recommend getting your stage photo package and stage video package because you will cherish those memories forever. But that is 289 Australian dollars for the stage photo package and $230 for the stage video package. And they are all 100% professional as well. The photographers are amazing and the videographers. So yeah, highly recommend that. And next up, our biggest category is the optional fixed costs. So most people spend money on these things, but you don't have to. If you're really wanting to trim down costs, this is where you'll do it. So photo shoots, again, you don't have to do a photo shoot, but I do highly recommend it. Like you're getting in peak condition for such a short amount of time. Having photos to remember that is such a special thing. And it also helps you with seeing the progress over the years as well if you do compete again. This can vary widely. For my first show, I did a few photo shoots, but one of them I did for free because it was with a photographer. She was lovely, but she was a wedding photographer and she was wanting to get into the fitness and bodybuilding space. So she actually did a free photo shoot with me just to get a little bit of practice and exposure. I had, I think, like less than 2,000 followers on Instagram at the time as well. So it's not like I was big online. So you can do something like that. There's lots of photography groups and pages on Facebook and online. So you can get a little bit smart. And then I'd say a standard photo shoot these days is around $750 to $1,000, depending on what photographer you go with, or it could be a bit more if it's someone super popular that everyone is shooting with because they get like fully booked out. Photo shoot outfits, obviously, if you are shooting, you will need outfits to shoot in. So I personally get all of my photo shoot outfits off Sheen. You can image search. So if there's a look you like, or you see someone else's shoot that you like, or you've got images on Pinterest, you can actually load those images into the Sheen app and you can find similar outfits to get the kind of look you want. And they are so cheap. Like the bikinis are actually really good quality. Mostly, if I'm getting something off Shein, I don't get anything unless it has over 1,000 good reviews, and I've never really had an issue. So that is my go-to for photo shoot outfits. You'd probably spend $50 to $100 getting, 6 to 8 outfits, which is really great. Or, of course, you can use a photo shoot stylist if you just don't want to think about it. Honestly, I haven't used one for a while, but I think they're around $500, and they will come to the shoot as well most of the time and get behind the scenes footage for you, and style you as well as provide you the outfits to wear just for the shoot. Makeup, this can get quite expensive depending on what you do. But I recommend, if you are doing a photo shoot, to do it on the same day as media night. So I would recommend getting your makeup done in the morning, doing the photo shoot, and then going to media night. You only need to pay to get your makeup done once, and you can use it for media night and the photo shoot. So that'll be anywhere from $150 to $350. You can go to like Mecca and get it done, and then you get the product back. Or you could, of course, go to one of the many amazing professional makeup artists. Hair extensions, this is one that varies quite a lot. Some people don't need hair extensions. Lots of girls do just get clip-in hair extensions, which is a really good way to save some money. Or you could go anywhere up to like $3 or $4 if you're getting full real hair extensions, like keratin bonds or something like that. So just have a chat with some hairdressers, of course, and see what you need and if you even need them. Nails, I think most girls probably know what nails cost, but anywhere from $150 to $300 depending on where you're getting them done. And hair removals, you need to get rid of all the hair on your whole body. So even like those baby hairs on your stomach and glutes and like your back, all of those little baby hairs will show up on the stage light. So you need to be completely hairless. I highly recommend, if you're not doing laser hair removal, to get a full body wax like a week before the show, and that'll make your tan go on beautifully and you'll look really good under the lights. So that'll be anywhere from probably $200 to $300 for a full body wax. Accommodation, can share your accommodation with friends or fellow competitors, coaches, family, anyone who is going to be at the same location as you to save money. So you could get an Airbnb, you could share a hotel room, but splitting costs can really save money on accommodation. And of course, shopping around to find the cheapest site to book the accommodation that you want. Anywhere from probably $800 to $2,000, depending on how long you're staying and how nice the place is that you're staying in. And of course, if you're competing locally, that'll save you a lot of money because you don't have to spend money on accommodation or travel. Travel, that can vary a lot. That just depends on, where you're flying in from, if you're driving, if you're local. One tip is to book your flights. If you're flying internationally, it's normally cheapest to book your flight 16 to 20 weeks out from your travel date. So what I normally like to do is, as soon as I know if I'm doing an international show or I need to travel somewhere, I will turn on alerts for flight prices, and then you'll see when the cheapest time to fly is and if any good deals pop up. Tickets for friends and family. So if you've got friends and family coming to watch the show, just keep in mind tickets are around $100 to $150 per ticket. So if you are buying tickets for them, just make sure you budget for that. And then there's a few other categories like supplements and just other things you might need for competing. So just keep that in mind if you're getting additional things like that. Recovery is another big one on prep, like massage, physio, all of those things which you might spend a little bit more money on during prep. So just keep those in mind and make sure you budget for them accordingly, because your body does need recovery, especially when you're doing all the posing and all the things. All right, so that is the full budget. Now that you understand a bit more about the costs involved, I'm going to give you some more tips to save a whole lot of money. My first tip would be to secure sponsorship deals. And don't feel like you can't get these just because you don't have a big following or you've never had a sponsorship deal before. There is a bit of a strategy to it, and there's so many good YouTube videos on this, or if you just search on TikTok, tips on how to get sponsorship deals and how to reach out to brands and things. What I like to do when I start a prep is make a list of everything I need to compete, or I'll just run through the cost planner. And then once I know what I need and what I think I could reach out to brands to, I will reach out to local brands or brands I already know and love and ask if they would like to support me on my journey to the stage. And I also let them know what I will provide in return. So If you can give them exposure on social media, if you're going to just provide some user-generated content for them to use or something else, let them know what is in it for them. I do recommend jumping onto Canva as well. There's some really good templates there to make a social media kit, which you can send through to brands when you're reaching out to see what they have on offer. There are obviously a lot of cost savings that you can do around travel. Like I mentioned, share your accommodation with others and book your flights early, or just compete locally. And of course, purchasing secondhand is going to save you so much money. That is exactly why I created the comp closet. So secondhand bikinis, gowns, thinwear, and heels are substantially cheaper than buying new. So have a browse through the comp closet. I'll pop the link below. And if anything catches your eye, then definitely just buy that, because it can save you thousands of dollars. And if you save money, you might be able to do, an extra photo shoot or a few days holiday after your show, or even like another back-to-back show if you save enough money. And also, if you do have stage wear or activewear sitting in your closet, then you can list that on the comp closet, sell it to other competitors, help them out, and also make money back to spend on your prep. Another way you can save a little bit is paying upfront for services. So some coaches, some service providers like beauty services will actually give you a discount, sometimes like 10% or more for paying upfront. If you do have the money to pay upfront for those services or coaching, then do that, because every little, 10% discount adds up. But I think my main tip for saving and spending less money on prep, stretching your dollar further, is honestly just to plan what it's going to cost you and where you can spend money, and track what you're spending money on, because it can be easy to get carried away with what you're spending on prep. So use the cost planner, plan it out as early as you can. Even if you're competing at the end of next year, use the cost planner now so that you can start saving early, start getting things that you need early, start talking to brands and things like that. And you really can save a lot of money. I know a lot of people don't compete because they think it's too expensive. And yes, it can be really expensive, but you can do it for a lot cheaper than you think. So just run through the cost planner and see, of course, what's financially viable for you and when you can make it work. So that is all I have for you guys today. I really hope that did help you to save a bit of money, stretch your dollar further on prep. If you did like this episode and think it would help someone else, then please share it to your stories. Don't forget to rate this podcast on the platform that you're listening to it on. And of course, download the cost planner so you can calculate the cost of your prep. Thanks for listening, and I will see you guys on the next episode.